When you think of old school survival horror, chances are games like Resident Evil come to mind. And this is a fantastic example, but what if I told you that there is an even scarier game than this? One where you play as a farmer and you have to hide your wife's corpse from the police for as long as possible. And what if I told you that it had the art style of Harvest Moon? Ladies and gentlemen, I present for your delectation the Evil Farming Game.
For years, the Reddit board tip of my joystick has been a hub for gamers who have forgotten certain aspects or titles of certain games. They leave a description or screenshot, and other gamers attempt to figure out what game they are talking about. It's a nice community filled with tons of helpful people. On April 30th, 2016, a Reddit user named Sparta213 created a post on tip of my joystick titled, "This game was kind of like Harvest Moon." Here is how the post read. I know almost nothing about this game. All I can remember is that it's kinda like Harvest Moon, but with a dark twist. The game starts out with you and your wife. One night you get in a fight and you end up stabbing her to death. Now the game revolves around you farming to stay alive while trying to keep the town from finding out about the incident that happened. Every now and then the cops come to search your house and you have to hide her corpse. Sparta213 began getting bombarded with questions, so he edited the post saying, "I have no recollection of what console this game was for when it came out. I know that it was released after 2000. I know this is so vague, but it's really hard to remember something you forgot. Also, it had to be mid to early 2015. Graphics were not 3D. I'm 100% sure it wasn't a browser game." Before long, a lot of Reddit users became interested in this evil farming game, none able to offer an explanation as to what the game actually was. Some concluded that this was a generic RPG Maker horror game, while others say that it was part of a dream. Still, there is the very real likelihood that this game did exist, so the investigation officially began. Unfortunately, despite the eagerness of everybody on Reddit, nobody was able to get a definitive answer of what this game was. There were a good amount of suggestions, however the OP dismissed them all and the case remained open, and it remained in the back of a lot of Redditors' minds until December 16th, 2018, when a second user decided to post about an evil farming game. Posted by user David Spade AMA, "There was this game I used to have downloaded in about 2006, before I upgraded my computer and lost it. It was a farming Stardew Valley style of game, where you murder your wife and then you try to pretend you never killed her, and that was the whole game. Keep farming and make sure nobody finds out you killed her. There's a fishing minigame and I specifically remember fishing up evidence of your wife's murder, and then you pass out. Edit, it wasn't pretending to be a kid's game, it was an RPG Maker game and I got it off some indie dev's website. There were screens between each day that showed the date in the game, and one of the characters was an old dude with a white beard." Now, it is likely that this user could have seen Sparta213's post and decided to troll by expanding on it. However, a lot of people took this as fact that the game had to have existed. It couldn't have been a dream because two people have played it. A couple users brought up how the plot is very similar to 1921 by Stephen King, and how it could have been a fan game based off of that. However, it couldn't have been done in RPG Maker, as the second user claims that it was not an RPG Maker game. Now, another thing that David Spade AMA brings up is the website that he downloaded it off of. He doesn't remember what site it was, but he claims that the website had graphic live leak videos, and it may have started with the word Ash. Less than 2 weeks later, a third person came out. A user named Dunmia Bamboozle decided to post about his experience with an evil farming game as well. His post was titled, "Avoiding the Police After Killing Your Wife and Living a Normal Life." "Hi all, first time posting here. Today I found my old laptop, but sadly it won't boot up. But it brought back some great memories, particularly a game that I'm about to describe. So at the start of the game you killed your wife, but after that you just lived a normal life managing your farm. However, it had a twist. The police could come at any time and find the body, so you had to constantly be wary and move the body. The laptop was built in 2001, and I bought a new one in 2003, so it would have been between that time. It wasn't a browser game, and I think I may have gotten it from uTorrent, but I can't remember to be honest. Hope this is enough info, and many thanks." The user also mentioned that the laptop's hard drive could not be recovered, meaning that the game is unfortunately lost to time. Now, there is one bit of information to imply that this user may be trolling, and that's the fact that he said he got it off of uTorrent, which unfortunately did not exist back then. He could have been thinking of LimeWire though, so maybe he got them confused. After 3 separate claims on one subreddit with nobody finding a definitive answer to what the game was, a separate subreddit was created with the exclusive goal of finding out what the evil farming game is, under the name That Evil Farming Game. During this time, the original user Sparta213 returned to Reddit to answer as many questions about his original post as possible. During this time, he specified that it was in none of the previously suggested movies or games. He also acknowledged that it may or may not have been a dream. He believes that the other people who posted about this game were faking their claims because none of the claims were consistent with his. He claims that the game is a top-down pixel art style game like the older Harvest Moons or Link to the Past. He believes it was likely a PC exclusive release, he's never read 1922, and he doesn't think it was an animation because he's not an animation watcher. The biggest piece of information in my opinion is that he claimed that he did not download it from a gore site. Combining that with some of the other information leads a lot of people to believe that the second and third OPs that posted about the game were potentially lying. However, nobody knows for certain. Sparta also joined Discord and discussed a few other things. He believes that David Spade AMA faked his claim because there was no fishing game. The cutscenes were pixelated. The main character felt grief for the murder and believes it was due to his alcoholic rage. The townspeople were interactable and sometimes a character would tip you off. There was a priest character that encourages you to confess. There are visions of your wife after drinking. Saves were available to use. The game was plot important. You had to make money in order to pay rent. You could upgrade your homes so you could have more hiding spots for the body. You could go to town. The farmer had dark brown hair and he did not look like a stereotypical farmer, just a normal, regular guy. And another big lead, Sparta213 claims that he's never played a ROM hack, meaning that it couldn't have been a hack of Harvest Moon, per se. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of the investigation by discussing some of the leads. First and foremost, on May 22nd, 2020, there was a poll on the subreddit asking if the game actually exists. 220 people voted yes, 276 people voted no, and 304 people voted maybe. Existence confirmation aside, let's take a look at some of the more popular leads. The first is a website called Ashen Bones, or some variation of Ashen something else, to be a foreign shock site that hosted the game. Unfortunately, there's no proof that this website ever actually existed. 2 more titles were suggested, The Other Side of Dirt and Dirtnap, but nobody can find any evidence that these games exist at all. Then, miraculously, a game called Trash Reap managed to surface, which matched the description of Evil Farming Game perfectly, at least the gameplay aspect. The graphics were very crude and looked like something made in Microsoft Paint. However, the gameplay was similar to what the original post described. The executable claims that it was created in 2003. However, it uses samples from FL Studio 12, which didn't release until 13 years later, meaning that this game is most likely a hoax. Another popular theory is that it was part of a demo disc that was released on PC. Now, demo discs were huge back in the day for trying out games before you buy them. However, with the abundance of demo discs in existence, it's unlikely that people are going to be able to view every single one of them. Needless to say, tons of people have already tried, and nobody's found any leads this way either. Another very popular theory is that it was hosted on Newgrounds. However, Sparta213 claims that he did not play it in a browser, meaning that it would have to be downloaded and played on a Flash executable, which is unfortunately unlikely for a lot of Newgrounds games. Still, there are a couple Newgrounds games that more or less fit the description. Take Care of Trees and Raptus both feature murder and is in a pixel art format. However, Sparta213 says that neither one of these are the game he's talking about. The final game I'd like to talk about is a game called Did You Murder Your Wife?, which appeared in the Global Game Jam 2010. It involves your wife being murdered and you having to run away from the cops. There's no farming elements involved, and it's unfortunately not available to download. The game's developers, Matthew Johnson and Eve Powell, both commented saying that they don't think that this was the game that OP was talking about, just because of how radically different their game was to the Evil Farming game. Those were just a small fraction of the possible leads discussed. There's a full list available on the subreddit. However, I would like to get into the theories now. On the very first post, someone brought up that this could be a dream, and that's still an active theory. It very well could have been, especially because Sparta admitted that he was suffering from chronic insomnia and was on Klonopin to help him sleep, which has side effects of bizarre dreams. Another popular theory is that this is an actual murder confession, a real-life murder that Sparta 213 was a part of. I personally don't buy this because Sparta 213 has confirmed that he's never been married, so unless this was some sort of traumatic experience at a younger age, I can't see this theory holding any water. There's no evidence that supports it. And the final and most common theory I've seen yet is that the evil farming game just never existed. There's a possibility that Sparta made it up just for pretty much no reason. Tons of people have done this in the past, so it wouldn't come as a surprise, but I personally don't see Sparta's gain for leading us on this long. You'd think by now he would admit that it's a hoax and just say sorry for wasting everyone's time. Whether or not the evil farming game did actually exist back when Sparta claims he played it, it will vary shortly, as there are a couple fan projects that are dedicated to remaking Sparta's original claim of how the game played. So the good news is we will eventually be able to play this game. The bad news is we might not be able to find the original. But who knows, the future is a weird place. Maybe the original game will turn up if it does actually exist. If there is one thing I know the internet is good at, it's finding lost media, or at least finding closure to the topics of lost media. And it's for that specific reason that I think one day, if the game is real, we will find the evil farming game.
Now that's the story so far. Of course, things are still developing, so if you'd like to stay updated, I'll leave a link in the description to the official Evil Farming Game subreddit, which is That Evil Farming Game. If you'd like more information on the topic, there are several other YouTubers that have made videos on this topic as well, such as Justin Wang, which I would highly recommend you watch. Anyways, this has been DanRock. Peace out, take care, stay safe.